Councillors, ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for the Mayor of Tamworth, Councillor John Harper.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this full council meeting of Tamworth Borough Council on Tuesday, the 29th of January, 2024, the first of this year. The meeting is being live streamed and is available to view on YouTube, and we welcome all those people at home who are tuning in, hopefully, and hope that everybody is well and in good health and has managed to avoid all the various ills that are currently around, the nasty viruses and so forth. On which subject we'll go straight into agenda item 1. And indeed, that could be a reason for some of the apologies here, because we've received apologies from Councillor Jason Jones, Councillor Paul Thompson, Councillor Marie Bailey, and Councillor Jan Wadrup. Do we have any other apologies? Councillor Jay.
Did you mention Councillor Pritchard? If not, he's an apologist. Thank you.
I didn't, but we'll mention.
And Councillor Oates has COVID as well, so he's absent. Thank you.
So that's Councillor Robert Pritchard and Councillor Jeremy Oates. If they are all unwell, of course, I'm sure you'll all join me in wishing them a very quick and speedy recovery. Any other apologies? Lovely, thank you. Right, agenda item number 2 is to receive the minutes of the previous meeting of the 12th of December 2023. Can I ask for a mover? And that's Councillor Lee Wood, thank you. And a seconder? Councillor Jay. And all those in favour? That's everyone, I think. Anyone against? Thank you very much. Agenda item number 3 is declaration of interest. Does anyone have anything to declare before we go into the meeting? No? Thank you very much. Agenda item number 4 is announcements. I'll kick off proceedings. I've just got a couple of things which I'm sure probably everyone is already aware of, but I'll just reiterate them. The Tony Christie charity show is going to be performed at the Assembly Rooms on February the 10th. That's a Saturday, February the 10th. This is a charity show that Tony Christie is coming to our town to do in order to raise funds for local charities, local dementia charities, who do, and I can tell you I've visited them, an incredible amount of work. Support groups who look after the various families of people who have been struck down by this dreadful virus or disease. And we're going to try and raise as much money as we possibly can for these charities. And Tony Christie has graciously offered his services at a very much reduced rate. So hopefully we can do some good. And if you're free on that night and can come along, I can assure you it's a brilliant night. I went to see Tony Christie at Lichfield at the Garrick a few weeks ago. And the Garrick was sold out, absolutely packed, and he gave a fabulous show. Even as you probably know, even though Tony Christie has himself been diagnosed with the early stages of dementia. But he was sounding as good as ever, and he looked great. So hopefully, if you haven't already bought tickets yet, you can come along on February the 10th to the Tony Christie show. I could also let you know that the Civic Ball, the much celebrated Civic Ball, will be on March the 8th at the Assembly Rooms. As in previous years, this will be a black tie dress-up event, and we aim to make it a really splendid evening. So if you could come along to that and support the Civic Ball, that would be absolutely terrific, and I certainly would look forward to seeing everyone there, if you can make it. Right, that's all I've got to say. Now then, there are one or two other announcements, and first of all, I'll go ask our leader, our council leader, Thomas J. Do you have any announcements?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Firstly, I'd just like to update the council that we're moving into an exciting new phase on the Future High Street Fund delivery. We're due to have some new graphics put on the hoardings in the town centre, so any passers-by or residents can see what is happening, what's due to happen. And from the old Christopher's down to the Pound Bakery, demolition is imminent, so people will start to see some visible positive action in the town centre, so that's fantastic news. In the council before Christmas, I announced it was my intention to look to form a coalition with Tamworth Independent Future Group. Councillor Cook and I have had some very good conversations. There's been a lot of goodwill and a lot of common ground between us, but we've not been able to reach an agreement. There's no ill will at all, and we will both continue to deliver for Tamworth, and we as a Conservative group will continue to do what's right for Tamworth as well. So no ill will there, but no agreement reached. So that's it from me, and I know there's some fantastic announcements coming from Cabinet members tonight, so I'll hand over. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor J. Members of the Cabinet, I know that I've got one or two. Councillor Clements.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I think we'll all agree it would be remiss if one of us didn't stand up and mention Ben Newman. Ben Newman, aka Spudman, the TikTok sensation that he is. As we all know, he held an event in the town centre on Saturday, and I think those of us that visited the town centre could certainly see the appeal of Spudman. And his band, don't all laugh at once. And his band of Spud Army, and not just in Tamworth, across the world, it would seem. There was visitors from Malaysia and Dubai, and I think we can certainly say that he is a smash hit through all of his TikTok videos. I did try. I think we can all agree that the event was a great attraction for Tamworth. You know, it wasn't a council initiative, but it certainly brought people into the town centre. Wild Sweet Shop, they've never had a queue to get in. They had a queue around the block going down the road and ran out of cola cubes, which I wasn't happy about because I did fancy a quarter of them as well. He also set up a GoFundMe page for kidney research, and most of us will know that Ben has had kidney surgery, so I'm hoping that he raised quite a bit with that. The town centre was full, the pubs were brimming, the traders were selling out. So if you walk down Market Street, although they said there was a bit of a queue at first, it soon moved so people could get through. The Castle Hotel was fully booked, the Christopher's fully booked. So again, it brought a lot of people into the town. And I think on behalf of everyone here, we'd like to wish him all the best in his recovery, because we know he's been doing things that he shouldn't be doing, and he needs now to rest and recuperate. And who knows, Mr. Mayor, perhaps you could be the next TikTok sensation.
Thank you, Councillor Clem. I'll do my very best if I can find anything to be sensationalist about. But I know my taters. Oh dear. But yes, I'm sure we all wish Spud every good wish and a speedy recovery. Councillor Cooper. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can't believe that our musical mayor isn't already a TikTok sensation. I've got to be honest. What's going on? How is that so? I would like to announce that obviously with a few changes in portfolios for the Cabinet, so the events are going to be handed over to my good friend and colleague, Councillor Tina Clements. That then leaves me to focus on leisure strategy for our amazing town. Part of that will be building a strategy ready for the Tamworth of tomorrow, to give a nice strategy review to look at our needs and requirements for this town and its people, so that we can deliver a leisure strategy for the people for today and tomorrow. And this has to be fit for the town. It has to be fit for what's required of the town. It has to be affordable. We don't want to fall into the trap of some neighbouring authorities where we overspend and we end up in a bit of a sticky situation. So we're not going to do that. We're going to make it affordable. And the prime example of this is what's already going to be kicking off with the new 3G football pitch up in Amington. It's a fantastic addition to our town. Funded, there was a spike in funding that's been met by the FA. We haven't had to dig into our own pockets. Absolutely fantastic. The majority of the funding is coming from the FA, and that's exactly what we should be seeing. External funding coming into our town to give us some great facilities. This will allow us to expand our football reach, to allow more teams the ability to go and play at some fantastic facilities up in Amington, as I like to call it, the Maracana of Tamworth. So without further ado, I just thought to drop that in, some really good news for Tamworth, to get some facilities that are predominantly externally funded. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cooper. That was kicked off beautifully. Councillor Summers, I think you've got something.
We, along with other organisations in Tamworth, put in a bid to the County Council, a fund called the COVID Outbreak Management Fund. All bids submitted to the County Council for that fund have been approved, which is absolutely great news. And the total approved is £251,342. And some of the projects that Tamworth Borough Council will be delivering with the money are funding for an empty homes officer to inform the council approach around bringing empty homes back into use. Obviously, you hear grumblings about that we've got empty properties lying around that we should be utilising for people who need them. And that's funded up to September 2024. Cooking lessons within supported housing for vulnerable tenants. Dehumidifiers for private sector housing to be managed to assist damp mould concerns reported. Contribution to expand current free holiday activities managed by TBC. Restart of a move on support budget for rough sleepers. And top-up funding for the Eco-Flex scheme to ensure vulnerable applicants can be assisted where the grant provided does not quite meet the full cost of home energy upgrade efficiency measures. So all the projects listed there have got to be completed by the 30th of September 2024. There are others that partners have put in. For example, the Belgrave allotment's got composting toilets out of it, so I'm sure that will be fertile ground for them. And yeah, that's some good news, as Andrew, my colleague, says, bringing external funding in to our town. Important at times like this, get some good projects on the go. And that's just a selection of what we are doing with the money, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Summers. Any other member of the Cabinet wish to make an announcement? No, thank you very much. The Chief Executive has nothing to contribute just at the moment, which means we can move on to agenda item number 5, which is question time. There are 5 questions from members of the public, and the first question is under Procedure Rule number 10. Mr. Ron Brown will ask the portfolio holder for Entertainment and Leisure, Councillor Andrew Cooper, the following question. Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Chair. What were the legal and organisational explanations given at the time for the expense of the addition of concrete bollards and a padlock gate at the top of Moor Lane, Bowl Hall?
Thank you. Councillor Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the question as well, Mr. Brown. It's good to see the public getting involved in local politics and coming along to our full council meetings and asking the questions of the councillors sat around the table. What I will say about this, I have seen a few little things online about this patch of land, and there are many sort of major misinformation campaigns. There's some major conspiracies going on around this patch of land. But what I can tell you certainly is the councillors, the legal landowner is well within its right to protect the site from any sort of illegal incursions, whether that's fly tipping or anybody sort of trespassing onto it or illegal encampments. And that's why they've installed the bollards onto the site, to ensure that they're protecting their green land, as the council's well within its right to do so. Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cooper. Mr. Brown, do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Thank you for the response. Quite simply, what changed since then? Because despite the Council's obligations under the relevant Act of Parliament, the gate is no longer padlocked and is now left perpetually open to vehicular traffic, which wasn't allowed before, and which has already been taken advantage of many times in that new open always situation.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Councillor Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much. So what's changed? So the council's obviously had a bit of damage done to the gate. It's a bit of a historical issue with some of the damage done to the gate and the land. So they've decided to act, as all good councils should do, be proactive, act on it, and to put some protective measures in place to stop that damage happening again. As for the gate being recorded unpadlocked, thank you for bringing it to our attention. I'll ensure that I'll take that up with the street scene team, and we'll make sure that gate gets secured, because you're quite right, we should be securing our gates. And I make a plea to the public as well, that should we have any gates that are unsecured and unpadlocked and they believe they belong to the council, do get in touch. Use the facilities online, Mr. Mayor and the members of the public, to make that report in, and then we will ensure that we get somebody down to investigate thoroughly. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Cooper. Question number 2 from the public, and it's under procedure rule number 10. Mr. Mark Hopkins will ask the portfolio holder for housing and planning, Councillor Samuel Smith, the following question. Mr. Hopkins.
Thank you, Chair. Are Tamworth Council and all its councillors turning a blind eye to breaches of planning and or false declarations to obtaining planning permission?
Councillor Smith.
Thank you for that question, Mr. Hopkins. I'll give you a direct answer. I'm not aware of any instances where the council or councillors have ignored breaches of planning or false declarations.
Mr. Hopkins, do you have a supplementary?
No, I don't have a supplementary.
Thank you very much. Questions from members of the public. Number 3, Mr. Mark Hopkins will ask the portfolio holder, Housing and Planning, Councillor Samuel Smith, the following question. Mr. Hopkins.
Thank you again, Chair. Can anyone now create a road on public land like seems to have happened on the Warwickshire Moor?
Councillor Smith.
Yeah, great question, and thank you for bringing it to the council. So the planning team has been looking into the issue raised by residents regarding the track and the materials used on it. Planning officers and the planning enforcement officer have conducted several site visits. Currently, the landowner has submitted an application to regularise the situation. However, this does not guarantee approval. The officers will not be able to proceed until they have consulted with various statutory bodies, among others, and completed the necessary consultations.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Mr. Hopkins, you have a supplementary.
Thank you for your answer. Yes, I have a supplementary. Thank you. Why does it seem that planning departments apply different rules and rules or law to different people?
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
Thank you. I'm not aware of that, but of course, what I would say just on this issue in general is if you believe there is any unfairness or certainly a deviation of the regulations, of course, let us know and be as specific as you can about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Question from Mr. Vicky Dickinson, who will ask the Leader of the Council, Councillor Thomas J., the following question. I beg your pardon, that's Mrs. I do apologise.
Thank you. What performance measurements does the council employ and publish to ensure that questions asked by residents and commitments made by councillors in their replies are completed in a timely manner? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor J.
Thank you very much. Firstly, I want to echo Councillor Cooper's words. It's great to see you here. Public involvement in the council is fantastic, and it's a fantastic feature of our democracy, so good to see you here. The answer really is that there is no set measure for councillor performance or councillors, what they say to you on an email. All I'd say is if a councillor hasn't replied to you, go back to them in the first instance. If they then don't get back to you, there are 3 councillors per ward. Try another councillor. And then if you're not getting what you want, in here you'll see there are several group leaders, and if they're part of a group, by all means contact that group leader. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Mrs. Dickinson, do you have a supplementary? Thank you very much. Right, question number 5 comes from Mr. Simon Thompson, who will ask the portfolio holder for housing and planning, Councillor Samuel Smith, the following question.
Thank you. What steps can I take to be certain that I can see online every single planning application, including those determined as prior approved, so that I have as much time as every other person to review them all, please?
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson, for that question. So there is a website that can be accessed. There's a link to it which we can send to you. Once you're on there, if you know the application number, you can insert this and go to prior approval notification in the application type drop down on that particular page. But as I said, just to reiterate, we'll send the link to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Mr. Thompson, do you have a supplementary?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, we now move on to questions from members of the council. The first question is from Councillor Robert Pritchard, who wants to ask the Leader of the Council, Thomas J., the following question. Unfortunately, Councillor Pritchard is ill and is unable to attend this evening. Councillor J., would you like to answer the question?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to say, as it is,
Would you like me to read out the question?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think as it could be an important question to the person who raised it, if I could answer.
Okay, I'll read out the question. The question is, when care leavers move into independent accommodation, they begin to manage their own budget fully for the first time. Research has found that care leavers can find this extremely challenging. With no family to support them and little financial education, some care leavers are falling into debt and financial difficulty. A number of local authorities have introduced a council tax exemption or discount for care leavers up to the age of 25. Will the leader consider introducing a council tax exemption or discount for care leavers up to the age of 25? Councillor Jay.
Thank you. So this has been considered in the past, but has not been implemented because obviously it's a very sensitive subject for care leavers. Some actually prefer to forget about their previous circumstances and start a new life, as it were. Many do not share their past with new partners and do not want it highlighting on their council tax invoice. So the Staffordshire County Council do have a representative who can assist care leavers if they request financial support in paying their council tax. If so, Staffordshire County Council will make a contribution of up to 100% towards the person's council tax, meaning that those who feel they need assistance in this area can get the help they need without having it identified on their council tax invoice. So I hope that helps the person who asked the question, and this approach is in line with other Staffordshire local authorities.
Thank you, Councillor Jay. There's obviously no supplementary for that. Right, concluding our questions now, we have a question from Councillor John Wade, who will ask the portfolio holder for housing and planning, Councillor Samuel Smith, the following question. Councillor Wade.
Thank you, Chair. In the wake of the council increasing leaseholders' insurance by 100% has the time now arrived to stop the monopolisation of the leaseholders?
Councillor Smith.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Wade. I don't believe that's the case. If we look at the last 2 years, the premium was lower than the years prior to that. The new premium will be more in line with what it was 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Councillor Wade, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, Chair. He says that it's in line, yeah? How can 100% be in line?
Councillor Smith.
Thank you. Well, if you average out what it was those so many years ago, 3, 4, 5 years ago, it's in line. I mean, that's a general average of what it is this year. The last 2 years in particular were almost half what it was prior to that and what it's going to be for this year. So I don't actually think it's necessarily a huge increase based on the historical data, but thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Right, that concludes questions. We now move on to agenda item number 6, which is an update to appointment of cabinet and allocation of cabinet responsibilities.
Whoa. 250 quid?
Excuse me, I'm afraid, if you don't mind.
This is ridiculous.
Excuse me, no, you can't come in at this point. I'm so sorry, but
I'm a member of the II.
no.
They give me a quote for insurance.
Please, we can't have this debate here. I'm ever so sorry. I know you obviously feel very strongly, but this is not the right procedural route. I'm so sorry. Right, okay, back to item number 6, which is an update on the appointment of cabinet and allocation of cabinet responsibilities. And we'll hand over now to the leader of the council, Councillor Thomas Jay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. As you'll have seen tonight and in recent months, the Cabinet is doing a fantastic job, so you won't be surprised to hear there's no significant change. Councillor Turner appointed Councillor Clements, and in the last meeting I appointed Councillor Oates, so that remains unchanged. That is the Conservative way, not to make a knee-jerk change, do it strategically and incrementally. So there are some tweaks to the portfolios. I'll list the key points, but this will be circulated to everybody. My portfolio as leader will change slightly to be finance and governance rather than finance and operations. Councillor Smith will remain with housing and planning, but will remove electric vehicle strategy. Councillor Oates will look after strategic projects, so that's Future High Street Fund, Town Centre regeneration, Town Centre master planning, Gungate regeneration, so general strategic projects. Councillor Clements will look after engagement, leisure and events. Councillor Paul Thompson will stay with Town Centre and assets, but will now include economic and business development. Councillor Martin Summers will remain with environmental health and community partnerships. And Councillor Andrew Cooper will look after waste recycling and the environment. And within that environment, that's climate change, green agenda, electric vehicle strategy, and the physical environment, so what we all see when we go around our town. So that will be circulated to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jay. Agenda item number 7 is an update to the appointment of committees. And once again, we hand over to the Leader of the Council, Councillor Thomas Jay.
Thank you. I'm not proposing to read them all out. It's just a slight moving around with some of the Cabinet changes. So that has been circulated, so everyone should be aware of who is now a member of that committee. It's very minor changes.
Thank you very much. Okay, on to agenda item number 8, which is street trading policy for 2024 to 2026. It gives me pleasure to hand over to Councillor Martin Summers, portfolio holder for environmental health and community. Councillor Summers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So tonight we'll be considering the street trading policy, which has gone through licensing a couple of times already, and obviously you'd have had it distributed in your reports packs. It's another of many policies under my portfolio which are either being reviewed or written from scratch. And the aim of the policy is to create a street trading environment which ensures fair trading, protects the amenity of residents, ensures the safety of those trading, promotes diversity and consumer choice, and provides applicants with advice and guidance on the Council's approach to the administration for street trading consents and licences. So as I say, it's been through licensing. On the 11th of September, the draft street trading policy was taken before that committee. They considered the options in relation to areas to be considered consent streets and resolved that the draft policy be consulted on and brought back to the licensing committee to consider any responses received. And in regards to that, the consultation for the draft policy was between 20th of October and 15th of December 23. Details of those who were consulted are in Appendix 2 of the report. There were no responses to the consultation. I never know whether that's a good thing or not with something like this, but there was obviously nothing too contentious given those that were consulted. So the recommendation before Council today is that members resolve that the draft street trading policy is suitable for adoption, and that Council consider the areas to be considered consent streets suitable for adoption, and to advertise the areas for consent once adopted. So I'll move the recommendation, Mr. Mayor, and look for a seconder. Thank you. I will reserve the right as well.
Right, we'll move to questions. Oh, are you going to second? Thank you. And if you want to have a chat, please go ahead.
No, Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to second that and reserve the right. Thank you.
Okay. We're going to move on to questions.
Yeah, I'm just a bit concerned about what's going on outside.
Yep. Any other questions anyone has to offer? Okay. Debate. We'll move into debate. Anyone want to talk about this? Councillor Price.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just very quickly like to say, as Councillor Summers alluded to, this came through licensing a couple of times. Some really good input from members into the policy. I'd also like to thank Sarah for the work that she's put into the policy as well. She puts a lot of time and effort into these policies, and we get really good results at the end of it. So I'd just like to thank officers and members for their input, and I'm more than happy to support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'd just like to echo that from Councillor Price. To be honest, this is a good bit of work that we've seen that's come through the mechanism of council. Went through to the licensing committee, then back out to sort of amend and then come back. So it's been discussed a hell of a lot. And it's a good policy that's been put in place. So I want to say say thank you to the officers because they've done sterling work on it, and obviously thank you to my colleague as well for his oversight on something that's really good and that robust. There's no questions and no debate. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cooper. Anyone else wishing to contribute? Right, okay. Well, we'll go for the votes. All those in favour? Against? Abstentions? That has been passed. Well, thank you, everyone. We're now closing the meeting at, I think, with my 1846, I'm reliably informed, because my poor eyesight can't read the clock. And thank you so much for attending. And thank you for everyone who's been watching on YouTube. We hope you have a safe and safe time of it. And as we said when we started off, avoid all these horrible viruses. And we wish you all a very good night. Thank you.